Now that he knows there's more to the island than he originally thought, what's next on the agenda for Green Arrow? Welcome to the Complete Story Series. We take trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then we read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Don't forget to support the industry that brings us these great books by buying them online or at your local comic book store. This is part 2 of our Outsiders War coverage, which is located in the last couple of issues of Volume 4, The Killing Machine. At the far-off small country of Latvia, a man in a red robe approaches the gates. As he gets closer, we see a green quiver on his back, and the guards tell him not to take one more step. Oh well, so much for the quiet approach. Let's try out these new arrows, Fife. The robe gets thrown into the air, revealing Green Arrow, and he grabs an arrow from the quiver and begins dropping the guards while running for some cover. Bullets begin to rain down in his direction as he sees more guards come running into his position, and he throws an explosive near them to disrupt them and throw them all off balance. He then runs up to the remaining guards and begins hitting them with his bow and kicking them in the teeth while firing more arrows at more approaching guards. In the end, he manages to drop every guard and then trap the rest in a net arrow, and then he sticks a map arrow into the wall, revealing the entire castle. And he eventually makes his way into the basement, where he finds a woman. He removes the bag on her head to see that the woman is in tears, and she leans over to kiss Oliver. "I knew you'd come for me." You see, Green Arrow is here because he discovered that his father was on the island long before he found himself stranded there all those years before. He was looking for an item called the Arrow Totem to gain enlightenment and allow him to rule something called the Arrow Clan. There are a total of 7 clans, and they have all brought their fight to Oliver, and all Oliver wants to know is how deep his father's mystery goes. Magus, a man that was once in the Outsiders clan, sent Oliver to this country to find something that he needs to continue his search. While taking some drugs to help him reach into visions that would allow him to see where he needs to go, he saw a dragon, and while he has no idea what he's actually looking for, he's looking for this dragon with his team, Team Green Arrow. But back with the woman that he found, she's wearing a robe that has a dragon on it, and looking at him in the darkness, she asks, "Robert?" "What? No, I'm not Robert. I'm Green Arrow. I'm here to rescue you." He then cuts her free and she realizes who he is. "You're him, aren't you? The boy Oliver. You can't hide it from me. You look just like my Robert." "You're Robert?" But at that moment, Green Arrow has a much more pressing matter to attend to. The master of this castle has arrived, Count Vertigo, and he's just started forcing the room to spin for Oliver and his mystery guest. "You've come to take my Shadow, yes, American? Well, I can't allow that. She is mine. Shut up, I can't think. Oh, this is beautiful. Of all the superheroes running around today, I get the one who actually has to aim something." Then Count Vertigo touches Oliver on the forehead, making the vertigo even worse as the room begins to spin and his head feels like it's exploding internally. Fife and Naomi can hear what's going on and they can see it thanks to Oliver's comms, and Fife shouts for Oliver to throw his quiver at Count Vertigo. "What?" Oliver says, trying to understand. "Do it now, Oliver!" So Oliver grabs his whole quiver and he throws it towards Count Vertigo. Fife then hits a remote detonator on an EMP arrow that drops Count Vertigo and stops his mind-bending abilities from the contraption that is located in his forehead. Oliver and Shado make a break for it while the Count is occupied, and as they're running off, Oliver asks her, "How do you know Robert? Who are you?" "I'm Shado, and I have my own questions. How did you know I was alive, and how did you find me?" "A man named Magus tipped me off and said that I could find you here and that you could help me find a man named Komodo." "Komodo? Did you see him? Did he have a little girl with him?" "Yes, he did. She was dressed like you, actually." "You don't understand. Amiko is my daughter, but Komodo isn't her father." They both then pause in the snow as they're fleeing. "Oliver, Amiko's father is Robert Queen. She is your sister." Then, more of the guards show up. Back at the castle though, Count Vertigo is seeing his own personal doctor to get his implant fixed in a hurry. Oliver's EMP arrow blew out a bunch of circuits in the implant, but he refuses to let this American steal from him. He will stop this, and even as the doctor warns him that he won't be able to properly control the implant, Vertigo says, "I don't care," and he heads off. Meanwhile, Shado and Oliver have dropped the guards that they were fighting, and they're currently ziplining as far from the area as they can get. And as they land, Shado comments how at first she thought that he was silly with his foldable bow and trick arrows. While it's not real archery, it is interesting. "Not real archery? I saved you from that maniac and you patronize me? My father loved my mother, and there is no way that he was with someone like you." "Like what, Oliver? A whore like me? Yes, your father loved your mother, but we had something special. And so, Shado explained. She met Robert Queen in Tokyo on one of his business trips, and Shado, she was a hired assassin that was there to kill their contact. But Robert and Simon found her and were ready to drop her with their arrows. So she ran, and catching her was a different story with their little compound bows. But the truth is, it was them that hired her to kill their contact. They wanted to test her. Robert wanted to be the best archer in the world and was therefore looking for the best archer to learn from. Over time, she learned that Robert was looking for something called the Green Arrow, an arrow totem weapon of legend, and together, they found out about the Outsiders. The fist, the axe, the spear, the shield, the sword, and the arrow, the totem weapon clans. The clans were once strong, but over time they split up, and it was in this weakened state that they seduced Simon and they took him into their fold. During those adventures, Shado and Robert fell in love and they had a child. And it was Simon who killed Robert to join the Outsiders as the head of the Arrow clan and to become Komodo. But Komodo never counted on Oliver, and that's the twist to this tale. Shado was being held captive because they couldn't kill her. She's the only person who knows the true resting location of the Green Arrow, the thing keeping Komodo from becoming the rightful leader of the Arrow clan. And just as she finished telling her story, Vertigo showed up and he threw Oliver off his balance. Oliver fired an arrow at Count Vertigo just as Vertigo shot a pulse in him, and the arrow took off Vertigo's ear, but the pulse clipped Oliver's ear, rupturing his eardrum. Then Shado took Oliver's bow and she killed everyone but Vertigo. You aren't taking me back to that damn dungeon. Then, Oliver and Shado left to get back to Team Arrow, to go on the next leg of this journey, the resting place of the Green Arrow, the totem weapon of legend. It's time for them to return to the island. And this is part 2 of the Outsiders War story arc, known as Shado. It was a 2-issue arc, so that's why it's a little shorter than our previous story. Personally, I loved this along with the entire Outsiders War storyline, and if you want to check out this story, it's located in Volume 4, The Killing Machine. I'm Benny for Comicstorian, and if you enjoyed this story, check out the other videos on the screen right now, you just might like them, and we'll see you next time right here.